Hey everybody, how's it going? It is good to be back again and so soon. Um, Today I got a really quick one. I'm going to be talking about this spreadsheet that I made to help you calculate whether or not taking out an advance is worth it relative to any specific LP liquidity providing opportunity that may be on your front desk. But first, before I get started, we got a special guest today to be hanging out with us. HexRayVision, how's it going?
Hey everybody, emphasis on special, right?
And well, hey, it's really great having you on my channel because you and your channel is actually you were the first one to have me on a live stream, and that really jump started a lot of my following. So it's an honor to have you on, HexRay. How you
We,
doing?
we we were not prepared for all of the knowledge you were ready to drop on TikTok. We're like, oh, he's a fan. Let's see what the fan has to say. And then you're like, well, actually, if you do this and this, we're like, oh, geez, we went to school. So it was great
Well,
having you on.
yeah, well, I definitely appreciated the opportunity and the ability to talk publicly with you. But yeah, you've had a busy day today. I saw you had an earlier stream with Crypto Coffee, right?
Yeah, he promised us all he would be on our Tech Talk on Sunday. So I was like, hey, everyone, Crypto Coffee's going to be there. And then he's like, yeah, I can't make it. I was like, oh, okay. I'm just glad people weren't angry that they weren't getting their coffee with their Tech Talk. But so that's why we got together today. I was like,
No,
oh, I
actually,
still want to definitely stream with him. He's a
I just
wealth of
finished watching
knowledge.
it. Actually, right before while I was out grocery shopping, I listened to it. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Good. What do you think about Little Caesar's Pizza?
I haven't eaten too much of it, but it's pretty solid in a pinch, right? If you
It's
need some
it's
pizza, if you
delicious.
need some pizza, they got you.
Yeah, it's good
So I didn't
stuff.
realize I could get my credit card information stolen from there. So
Yeah, don't leave your credit card information on any of the apps for the fast food places. That's what I've learned.
hmm yeah. But yeah, let's see who's we got going on in the chat. Naeem Khan, great to see you. MJB, what is up? Yep, we got a good one on Hadron. Actually, if anybody was on Sam Stoltz's channel about I don't know a couple days ago, a week ago, I actually kind of previewed this at the very end of the stream. And then Raul de la Rosa, great to see you. And Cutie Crypto, what is up? All right, so you wanna just dive right into this, Hexray, and then
Yeah, I was
we'll go from there.
actually looking at I was looking at this spreadsheet trying to make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old, I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely, no problem. Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it up. Cool. Yeah. So basically, the kind of inspiration for this calculator was my own desire to take out HSI advances and use that to generate more income. And I know, like in the Hex community, using leverage is kind of frowned upon, and for good reason, because that's really one easy way to get wrecked. And when you think about using your hex stakes, which are like the main asset, the thing that we want the most in the crypto ecosystem, that's actually can be a really scary thing. And to lose those stakes, even for me personally, would be absolutely horrible. But the opportunity to amplify my returns as well as use my assets to generate more income, I think is at least worth the look into running the calculations and seeing if this is a possibility, whether it be for now or in the future. Because as we all know, crypto is a very dynamic ecosystem. 2 years ago looked nothing like today. I mean, like what Uniswap just started not that long ago, and now we have all different dexes with all different pumpamentals for native coins. So just understanding the parameters by which you can utilize your assets to generate leverage, whether or not it is a good idea, depending on the current landscape of the crypto environment, I think is valuable and is one of the things I want to provide as a content creator with the different assets that I'm personally interested in. And so this calculator is essentially the fruits of that labor. I said, what numbers do I think I need to know before I feel comfortable taking out an advance on my Hadron HSI stakes? And I wanted to share that with the greater Hex community. So what does this calculator do? So this calculates all the relevant numbers for an HSI loan, everything that you would get from the Hadron.pro site when you are about to take your advance. and then it will track the APYs for 3 different liquidity providing opportunities. If you make a copy of this, you can create more. I just decided 3 was a good number to release to everybody. Also, real quick, what is up, Blue Bum and OG Hexakin and Hadronian? Great to see you in the chat. And then what it'll do with all of that information, it'll calculate how many days it will take to make a 30-day payment, both at the current Hadron price and the current price of your LP's position. And then it'll also calculate the different scenarios if the Hadron price goes up or down. And then it'll create like a matrix if against whether or not your LP price stays the same, goes up or goes down. So now you can kind of see the different scenarios of, oh, say my LP goes up, I can make a lot more money with the yielding rewards given the current APY. And if the Hadron price goes down, I can make my payments faster, as well as vice versa. Because one of the biggest concerns I see talked about on different live streams about Hadron is the fact that you're borrowing an asset that a speculative asset that has a volatile price. I mean, it's a low cap coin in crypto, which is like probably the most volatile asset we could possibly have. And so it's very understandable why that would be scary. But I think when I show you some of these numbers, it actually might not be as scary as people might think. So before we get in, let's just kind of review a little bit of what I talked about on my previous stream about what leveraged liquidity providing looks like with Hadron, and then as well as the basic risk management strategy that I recommend you have before you even consider taking out an advance. So for leveraged LPing, you're essentially taking your HSI. Let me see if you're taking your HSI, you're taking an advance on it, you're taking that Hadron and selling it into 2 different assets, or another asset if you want to pair it to Hadron. And then you're going to provide liquidity on PulseX or any other DEX that you feel there are adequate opportunities for. You're going to earn the fees and incentivization token if it's PLSX. You're going to pay off your advance, and then you're just going to repeat this ad nauseum for essentially what is like an infinite money loop created via debt. And then, of course, if you don't have enough yield from those opportunities that you are looking at, you are going to need to take a mint from a second set of HSIs or your native stakes if you have a large native stake ladder, or from any Hadron that you buy off the market, which now, if you look at the price, we're getting back to some of the first week's prices. So if you want to scoop up a large amount of Hadron for a small amount of money, now is not a horrible time to do that. And I actually recommend before you make that purchase, go ahead and calculate how much Hadron you can borrow from your HSI stakes. And when you do that, you can see, oh, hey, maybe it only takes $200 to get like 3x the amount of Hadron that you could possibly borrow from with all of your HSI stakes. And that could be a good deal because what you're not only buying the price appreciation potential of Hadron, but you're also buying the safety net for future leverage opportunities. So you can sleep a little better at night if you decide to use your HSIs as collateral. Okay. So I just went ahead and took the screenshots of all the relevant parts of this calculator, and I'll walk you through it, and then I'll pull up the calculator and we can see if we can, and then I'll try to walk through each part of it step by step as well. So these are the variables that you're going to input based on whatever's happening at the current time. So the Hadron price, obviously $1, that's perfectly reasonable and it's definitely going to happen. And then you put in your B shares for that stake. And then the global hex APY, which is going to help calculate your premiums and your principal payments, as well as the days advanceable. Little typo there, but advanceable. And then that's actually important. It's not just the days that you have the stake length of your stake, but also if you've minted coins on that HSI, you lose the ability to take advances on those. So you need to make sure you put that into consideration when you're putting in these numbers. So once you input those variables, it'll spit out these parameters. And so it'll be everything you need to know: your principal per payment, interest per payment, total number of payments, the amount of Hadron borrowable, and the number of Hadron you'll need to pay every month, the dollar value according to whatever the price is at that time, and the dollar value of your advance at the time of the borrow. And then here are the different where you can put the APRs for the different yield farming opportunities. So for this example, let's say we look at Pulse X single-sided staking, Spooky Swap, which is a DEX on the Phantom network, Spooky Swap, and then say you want to do Hex PLS liquidity providing too. And then from that, it just calculates a daily APR, which is the number that the larger sheet will be using to see how fast it will take to pay off a single 30-day payment. And then this is the result. So after all of that, this kind of matrix pops up. And then for each of your individual opportunities, you will get to see how many days it'll take to pay off to make a 30-day payment, given the opportunities APR, daily APR, and the different parameters of the price fluctuations of the different assets. So for Hadron price going up and down, and then the liquidity providing position going up and down as well. So let's take the PLSX single-sided staking, which was 40% APR, so 11 basis points every day. At the current price, that the dollar Hadron price, it would be 6 days to make a payment. And then say the Hadron price shoots up, it doubles in a day. Well, if your LP position stays the same, it only takes 11 days. So you're still within that 30-day period to comfortably make a payment. And we see that if the LP price stays the same, it would actually take Hadron doing a 10x to get to a point where you would no longer be able to make a payment every 30 days, but you would be able to make a payment under 90 days. Let's see what else. So let's look if the Hadron price 10x's and your LP price is down 90%, which this is the worst case scenario that could possibly happen. You know, it would take 501 days to make a payment. You would get liquidated at that point. So you can see with the different colors, it'll auto-populate the different colors based on these parameters, and green essentially means you're good. And with this information, I think this is an appropriate amount of information across multiple different scenarios to decide whether or not taking an advance to generate income is worth it. Let's see if there's anything else. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much that's the calculator. HexRay, you got any comments? Anything you want to, any questions?
No, I'm really glad you were explaining to me, because I have looked at this for quite a while and tried to make sense of it before, and I was like, I'm sure it makes sense when he explains it, and it does. You might want to go over some basics of Hedron for anyone new that is not as familiar with this as you and your think tank. For instance, people may not know there's 90 days, correct, for you to default. So if you don't make a payment on your borrowed or advanced Hedron in 90 days, then that HSI stake goes up for auction. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. And so with this calculator, that's essentially the scenario we're avoiding. And you want to stay in the green cells because you can make a payment every 30 days. The yellow cells, I would really, really not recommend that you use because it's simply unsustainable. You can make a payment and not get liquidated, but over time, your days unpaid are going to catch up to you and you're going to be liquidated eventually. And then obviously, if it's in the red, you're not going to be able to make a payment in time before you get liquidated. But what was really cool, I'll throw it up again. But what was really cool about this is that, you know, a lot of these assets are correlated in price with each other to a degree. Like everything in crypto kind of goes up together, everything kind of goes down together. Even though Hex is decorrelated from the greater market, it still holds true. And I think within the Pulse chain ecosystem, all of those assets are going to generally be correlated. I think that's a fair assumption. And so these scenarios where your LP is down like 90%, but Hadron is up like a 10x, you know, I think these are going to be very rare situations just because, at least for me personally, most of my opportunities I'm going to be looking to LP on are going to be within the Pulse chain ecosystem. But what's cool is, you know, even if your LP is up 50% and then let's say the Hex PLS, the APR was like 100%, you know, even if the Hadron price 10x's, you're still safe that whole time. And, you know, while crypto has this ability to do like 4-figure X's over time, they come in ladders. So it may do a large couple 4 to 10x, but then it'll dump 50 to 60%, and it'll do this ladder up and down. So it's not like it's going to have 100x and then just leave you behind forever. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And the APYs that you were pulling up on the previous screen, these are based on what we're seeing on Testnet right now, or is this just an example?
These are just examples based on my general experience within the liquidity providing ecosystem. So Spooky Swaps, the safest pool on that one, the Phantom Boo pool, that actually trends more towards the 35 to 40%. I just used 20% because I wanted a range of different options. The PLS single-sided staking, I just took a guess. Maybe it'll be 40% APR. Who knows? It could be like 20% APR for the PLS single-sided staking, and then those other pools where you could for the party token, where it could be other projects that are incentivizing you to put your staked PLSX into those pools to get more tokens. That could amplify the APR. And then 100% APR seems, at least maybe in the beginning of the PLSX or the PLSX farms, that seems like it could be reasonable for the beginning months, just because that's when the fewest number of people are going to be there. That's my rationale behind all of that. Yeah. And then anybody in the chat, if you got questions, please feel free to throw them down, and we'll try to answer whatever we possibly can. But yeah, tell me a little bit. Has this kind of evolved your thinking about HSI's advances at all? Is this a tool that you think you might use in the future, HexRay?
Well, I like trying to dollar cost average into the cheapest thing, at all times. That seems like the easiest way in crypto to make money, is to buy something at the right time and hold on to it, right?
Yep.
And we had this miracle come along a couple of years ago called Hex, that not only allowed us to buy something at the right price and hang on to it, but to also get paid for that behavior, right? Without a third party. Because, you could lock some money with Celsius or with Coinbase or some other third parties and get some yield, but you're always trusting these third parties. And now the third party or whatever you're trusting is a smart contract.
Yep.
Right. So like there's this like real safe, get rich slowly but surely way in crypto, or maybe even not that slowly, but depending on when you buy the coins. And so we're looking at Hedron right now, and I think they said like 12 whales just beat it to death this last weekend, just dumped down. I was looking for the 6 zeros, to jump back in, maybe buy a little bag. But I looked at it, I thought, this is not that bad. Because I bought a little bag of Hedron at the height, when it spiked up around Vegas.
Yeah.
And needless to say, it's worth like a sixth of what it is now. But the way you look at it is the DCA way, is like, hey, I'm getting the same bag for a sixth of the price. So if I average in as it's dropping, then over time, if I'm patient, and I'm looking at Hedron, I'm looking at a 5-year time frame, right? So in 5 years, we're going to see really this whole Hedron ecosystem evolve and get traction and move, and we're going to see a lot of stuff that we can only imagine right now, right?
No, absolutely. I think that's the perfect strategy. And as I've spent more and more time in crypto, I've realized income is key in this space. Always having a little bit of cash coming in to be able to build your positions or create a new position. That's really how you win in the space. Because at least from my perspective as a student, without a like monthly or bi-weekly income, it's just my position is what my position is, and I just have to wait. And it's really hard seeing the prices of these coins that I know in like that 5-year time horizon, or at least I have extreme confidence in that 5-year time horizon that they're going to just outperform their current prices. Just not being able to capitalize on that opportunity as heavily as I would like, it's kind of, it has allowed me to think about what leads to success in this space a little bit more.
Yeah, and I don't think you're the only one looking at accumulation, right? Because granted, if you got extra income coming in from your job or from a secondary source of income, that's obviously the easiest way to DCA and accumulate. But on top of that, we have the game theory of is it better to provide liquidity? Is it better to just delegate your pulse? Is it better to try to, like you said, you're comparing the yield that you're going to get on borrowing or getting an advance on Hedron and putting that money to work elsewhere other than just riding the price appreciation of Hedron, right? Because that's what you're fighting when you're paying back Hedron is what's the price of Hedron going to be?
Yep, exactly.
And I think any coin that you get that actually is part of this ecosystem and proves itself valuable, you can hang on to any one of these coins in 5 years and be very, very happy. Like, I mean, it's going to be positive effect on your financial future.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, that's why I'm here. And I think I should definitely taper and say, or qualify everything that I'm saying with a lot of this when you're looking at your portfolio and whether these kind of things make sense for you. It is necessary to look at the risk reward of all of that, which is what this calculator is for. But also, you know, you don't want to be levering yourself out on all of your HSI stakes maybe at once, or even say with like liquid loans, throwing all of your pulse in and then trying to get leverage to be able to, you know, multiply your bags even aggressively. You know, all of these things come into play once you have a comfortable staking ladder, maybe a native staking ladder, and you have your pulse bag, your PLS bag, and everything else. And then you can take a fraction of whatever it is you have and then start playing around with that to try to get outsized returns. But you always need to have that kind of safety net and that fundamental I don't know, moon bag, I guess is a good way to describe it, that no matter what, in those 5 years, you are going to realize some of the mad gains that are coming our way.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. And the other thing that is different about staking Hex versus delegating pulse, liquidity, provide a lot of these things, they don't really force a strong hand, right?
Yeah.
Like you can stop providing liquidity if you want to, you can, which is awesome for flexibility, but it's probably not going to save you from yourself. As far as if in 2 years you've got more money than you ever thought possible, it's going to be incredibly tempting to cash that out and go, you know, satisfy whatever urges you have money wise. But that's the first wave, right? That's like, because the next wave is going to be exponentially bigger in those 5 years. You know, there's look at a lot of the hexagons after 2 years right now, 2.5 years. A lot of people are taking their stakes or whatever they can get their hands on, and they're going crazy. And that's that sudden wealth syndrome, right? Like the money's growing faster than your mental maturity or your emotional maturity. And so here you have another. I like to frame this in that same mentality of like, so what do you think your mentality and your emotional maturity are going to be in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? You know, there's some people that are probably better off just staking Hex and taking their copies and taking their Hedron and, you know, all of their dividends, and they'll be better off that way rather than trying to game the system.
Yeah.
Because they're not in a place mentally or emotionally that they can see their plans through or, you know, stay true to themselves.
Yeah, a lot of this. Go ahead.
But then again, a lot of people are going to be able to take advantage of a lot of these moves and a lot of these opportunities.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, I think, one of the beautiful parts about Hex is that you can make it as simple as you want or as complex as you want. And so for, you know, maybe not the average person, but maybe the less risky person with a lower risk profile who's like, you know what, I don't want to pay attention to this crypto stuff, this liquidity providing stuff. I just want something that's going to grow on its own and I can just forget about it and live my life. Hex has that for you. Then maybe somebody closer on my end who I really want to learn about crypto. I want to be in the thick of things. I want to see where's the innovation happening and understanding that as soon as possible to be able to earn as much money as I possibly can as the space exponentially grows. Hex also has those opportunities for me, whether it be through staking ladders, whether it now be through things like Hadron, Maxi, with all Pulse Chain launching. We have all of the DeFi opportunities that we could possibly, occupy our time with. And so, Hex has something for everybody, which speaks to the stickiness and product market fit of the product itself, because everybody can get in, and there's meat on the bone for everybody, and there's space for everybody, no matter who you are, as long as you like passive income. Hex has something for you.
Yeah, for sure. I every day I'm amazed that more people don't know about Hex just because of its brilliance. Not, I mean, our community does a really good job considering how little we get our word out there on the mainstream, right? Like our conventional marketing strategies are difficult to use right now for us. That's why you see people do like the mailers and the direct mail and things like that, because a lot of the things that people are using right now to market aren't available to us. They won't take our money, which is bizarre in and of itself, right?
Right. No, that is strange. Usually people are pretty happy to be taking whatever money they can.
Yeah, but then again, I look at Hex and how amazing it is, and I'm like, how is this not spreading so much fat? Like no, very few people understand crypto, and even fewer of those understand Hex.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and even a lot of Hexicans don't understand Hex.
Yeah,
Right?
I would even say I'm still trying to wrap my head around the ecosystem, the system as a whole. You understand one part, and then you understand three more parts after, and then you go back to that first part with your new understanding, like, oh, this makes more sense, or I have more context to understand all the different parts of Hex under. And then as crypto as a whole grows, the way in which Hex fits into that evolving puzzle also changes. And so I at least personally have to continually revamp my understanding of the Hex system to fit it in with my growing understanding of crypto as a whole.
Right.
But Blue Bum has a pretty good question that I did not mention earlier. At what price will it be worthwhile to borrow? Yeah, that's a really good question, because, if you can only borrow like $50 worth of Hadron to go LP on, that's probably not worth taking on the risk of, excuse me, having your stake liquidated. I hear one of the things Alex said on a stream a while ago is that maybe he thinks, or like 20% of your stake's dollar value, or 20% of the amount of money you can put in to make the stake, if you could extract that as an advance, maybe that'll be the magic number where people feel taking an advance is worth it. For me, what I'm thinking is, if I can at least get $1,000 out of an advance, that might start be the point where I'm like, okay, this makes sense. At what price Hadron would have to be? I have to run that math. I actually don't know that off the top of my head. But I think it's several X's away from it is now. These advanced strategies, I don't think are going to be feasible, maybe even for months after Pulse Chain releases. But what do you think, HexRay?
Yeah, well, it depends on your fees and the network that you're on, right? Because you're dealing with smart contracts here. You're dealing with multiple smart contracts, right? So you want the contract fee or the network fee to be negligible, right? So if you're moving $20 to $50 around on, say, the Ethereum network, and the fees are $20 to $1,000, obviously there's no meat on the bone, right?
Yep.
And so you got that, and then, like I said, you got that backup too. Like, okay, if the price takes off on me, looking at your chart, how do I make sure that this doesn't run away from me?
Yep.
And so that also factors into it. And I almost thought of a third option, because you guys, I really like the idea of having two HSI stakes, and then you borrow against, you get an advance on one, and you have the others back up to save the first one in case you gotta, milk one cow to feed the other calves, right? Yep. And so I thought, right now, Hedron's what, like 1/10,000th of a penny? Is that what it works out to?
I think it's like 6 zeros and a 1, something like that.
Yeah, 6
off
zeros
the top
and
of my
a 1.
head.
Yeah, so let's say in the next 4 or 5 years you plan on using this system, right? What if you were to drop a couple grand, or $4 or $5 on a big bag of Hedron, and that was your safety net,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then you don't even have to worry about claiming on one of your HSI stakes. You could borrow against both of them. Know that you have
Yep.
plenty of backup gunpowder, so to speak, to take care of them. And that might simplify the process for some people.
Yeah, I think that's actually the thing that I've decided to take on as for my risk management for my advances in the future is I essentially bought, 10, 20, 30, I don't remember the exact number, but it's definitely 2 to 3 digit X's more of my advanceable Hadron bag off the market. So I know, in my wallet that doesn't connect to anything, my cold storage wallet, I have plenty of Hadron sitting there to bail me out if I make a bad mistake, which honestly I probably will. This is leverage. This is taking on risk. I will probably, and anybody who does this will probably make a mistake at some point where your collateralized asset is going to be at risk, and you want to make sure that if shit hits the fan and something doesn't go your way, the market goes a different way than you thought it was, you're okay. Like, you're not going to lose your T shares because of that. And I think you have to, and I think this is is relevant to what Hex Spartan has said. Prioritize the preservation of your Genesis bags before chasing additional yield. With that said, many will, and there is a lot of additional yield to capitalize on in the ecosystem. So, basic risk management, get your long-term bag set. And then once you do that, you can start branching out, taking on a more riskier profile.
Yeah, and it depends on how much of your information that you share with the governments of your jurisdiction also, right?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if you're bagging all this yield, but 20 to 30% of it is going to capital gains tax where you live, then you got to factor that in. That's that much more money you've got to make on your yield and fork over to the government, depending on,
Absolutely.
how much you want to worry about dealing with that side of things in your life, right?
Yep, but you have to take that into account because you're going to be moving in and out of positions. And at least in the United States, every time you go from coin to coin is technically a taxable event. So you have to take that into consideration in addition to just being able to make your 30-day payments.
Right. Yeah. The other thing I would add is back in the day, I was addicted to trading on the market. You had your Forex, you had options, you had all sorts of stuff to trade. And you would paper trade or do things, electronically without real money, and you'd try things out and you'd break things and lose your money over and over again. But every time you actually started putting real money in any market, things changed dramatically. So right now we have a lot of people paper trading and paper yield farming on Testnet, which is awesome. That's a great way to get your training wheels on and to understand the process. I'm not saying that's bad anyway. That's great. However, if these people that are doing this for the first time expect the mainnet and the money on the mainnet to behave in the same way, they've got to expect that to be another adjustment, right?
Yeah, no.
Like that's
what's happening totally on the Testnet is not real in any sense. People do things that they would never do with their real money. And not as many people. Like, I personally haven't been messing around with the testnet all that much. I went on like one time just to see, just to click the buttons to see where everything is. But I feel pretty comfortable with the skill set that I built on, say, like the Phantom ecosystem and like Harmony One, where I'll figure it out when the time comes. There's no really need for me to play, which means the data that I would be bringing into the system isn't there. So there are a ton of people on the sidelines who would be getting into these farms that would mess with the APYs and the prices that just make the testnet not real. So yeah, definitely play with the testnet. If you have no experience yield farming, liquidity providing, or single site staking, go see what's going on. But to your point, it doesn't become real until real money gets put into the game. And this is something else I've been thinking about. You don't really learn until you have skin in the game yourself. Like just watching prices go up and down and maybe tracking on an Excel sheet when you would buy, when you would sell, and see hypothetically what your games would be to learn. In my opinion, I don't think you're actually learning anything. You don't learn until you're making the real decisions with real money on the line that actually may or may not affect your life,
Yeah, yeah, well, and not only a lot of people are worried about dollar cost averaging in and accumulating, but very few people have sat down to come up with a plan for profit taking
Mm-hmm.
because it's not real until it's real, right?
Yep.
And so at
Not
that
until it's in
point,
your bank account.
your emotions are going to be going crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's really good to have a plan for profit taking ahead of time, as well as how you're going to make the money.
No, I agree, and that's actually one part of my crypto game that I need to work on a little bit. Taking profits appropriately as things go up. But I think that's also part of the experience in crypto. You watch your money go way way up, and then you watch it go way way down,
or gone completely. Like you
or
watch it.
gone completely.
Sometimes you watch it disappear like a bad magic act, and you're like, oh
Oh
no.
man. But yeah, how are you feeling? You excited about Pulse Chain? How you feeling about the timeline? Yeah, share some of your thoughts with us.
Every
X-ray.
week that goes by, I think to myself, we're 1 week closer. Whether we whether we know it or not, we are 1 week closer because a week has gone by, and that's kind of how I look at it. Is like, hope for June, pray for July. You
Mm-hmm.
know, whenever they give a date, like the devs gave that date, mid-June, mid-May, I thought, well, I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen then,
Yeah.
right? And all of my predictions, I assume it's not going to happen then either, because I haven't hit any of my predictions on price and time since I've been in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Not one. So that's kind of. But on the other hand, I'm really excited because right now is the calm time. This is the time to play around. This is the
Yep.
time to figure things out and watch YouTube and interview people. This is the time to get into Telegram chats and ask a bunch of questions,
Mm-hmm.
because once the gates open and the cattle come stampeding out of the gate and
That's
it's
it.
all freaking mayhem and
Mm-hmm.
craziness, you're not going to be able to be figuring stuff out and
Mm-hmm.
piecing things together. You're just going to be trying to ride the waves.
No, exactly. I feel the same way. I've pretty much put it out of my head to expect a date. It comes out when it comes out. I got my game plan set, and now I'm just gonna enjoy the calm before the storm. I imagine the times waiting for Hex to be released probably feel like a magical time now, seeing everything that's happened. And I imagine these times now we'll probably look at with similar rose-colored glasses or with similar nostalgia. I was like, man, this was before our lives really changed in a very major way.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't remember if I was in a green room or not talking about this with someone recently. um, the people that are going to blow your mind in Hex
Hmm.
are, most of them aren't even here yet.
Hmm.
Like look at some of the recent YouTubers that have just come out in the last month,
Yeah,
and you
there's been a
watch their
lot.
stuff and you're like, whoa, this person's got great content. They are researching stuff. They're putting out really awesome ideas.
Hmm.
They're editing sweet, slick, beautiful. I'm blown away every day by people that are brand new in the community. And
Yeah.
10 years from now, we're going to have a entirely different group of developers. We're going to have a different group of YouTube influencers. We're
Hmm.
gonna have a different group of business people that are, starting businesses and platforms, and just bringing adoption to this. And they're not even here yet. They don't know about Hex yet. They
Yep.
don't know about Hedron. They may not be in crypto at all right now.
Hmm.
And when they find it and it sets that part of their brain on fire, then we're here to welcome with open arms and join the party, man. I mean, we
Hmm.
have the best community hands down
Oh,
out of
absolutely.
anyone. Not I would say not even just in crypto, like on the internet, we have one of the very best communities I've ever seen.
No, I absolutely agree. And I mean, in addition to the assets that are within the Richard Hart ecosystem being so um having so much depth to talk about, and that piques me intellectually to want to produce content. I also wanted to be part of the greater Hexagon content creating community as well, because it just seems like a really awesome group of people. And like, you know, having more friends in the space never hurt anybody. And this seems like a great place to make those friendships and those relationships. And
Yeah.
they're really, and I'm into other ecosystems outside of Richard Hart coins, and no other community has the same depth and camaraderie that the Hex community has. The only one that even maybe comes close is the Illuvium community, has like a set of streamers who are pretty cool, but it's only a small set. It's not like, I can come on any day and some Hex streamers on, dropping a video, having a multi-hour live stream. Like it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then when you meet Hexicans in person, they also don't disappoint.
Yeah.
Because like you get to hang out with them at a workshop or a conference, and it's this group of really excited, cool people, just excited to be alive. They're excited about the future. That's really contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Absolutely.
and it makes you realize you're not alone, because there's a lot of people that are into Hex and they're the only one in their hometown. Like they might have onboarded their mom and one of their coworkers, and that's it. And their mom and their coworker are sick of hearing about Hex, right? So they're just in this little
town. We talk about.
They're in this little town by themselves, living on YouTube, just listening to the stream, and at least they have the community there. But then they show up to one of the crypto Starbucks workshops or something, and they're like, "My people!" Like it's
right.
It's like finding a tribe or a family.
Yeah, because not even meeting another crypto person, they may not even necessarily understand, Hex at all, or some crypto people that I've come in contact are like, oh yeah, that's like just a Ponzi, and like that's where their head's at in regards to it. So meeting face to face with other Hexicans is a pretty awesome experience. I was fortunate enough where one of the crypto Sparbuck tour stops was near my hometown, like an hour away. So I got to go and like meet some people from around my community. And some people drove all the way from like Florida to like come, because it was like the closest one. I was like, whoa, this is super cool. And like, got to meet some of the streamers, got to meet just just normal Hexicans that just enjoy the product. And that was an awesome experience. And I can't wait till I have some more time to go to the larger meetups like in Vegas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think September is going to be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I guess Crypto Sparbucks firing up the Million Pulse tour.
Yeah.
So they're going to be hitting the road again. But I think there's so many people that have met. Like I said, I have always enjoyed running and meeting Hexicans in real life, to where it doesn't have to be a big deal. You could like just put out on Telegram or Twitter, hey, we're meeting at this bar or this restaurant this weekend somewhere near your house, and people will most likely show up. It doesn't take a lot of planning or administration. You can just start reaching out to people in your area, or common things, things that you have in common, like hobbies. There's a group of Hexicans. It's the Foodie Hexicans.
Oh,
they're
really?
into like farming and permaculture and sustainable living and that kind of stuff.
Wow. That's super cool.
Kind of prepping, but not really prepping. More like
survivalist kind of stuff.
Kind of survivalist. More, I would say, like what's the word I'm looking for? Sustainability.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Where they're like trying to see how much of our own stuff can we grow on our own or take care of as a community. So there's that. Wow. There's the Mystics, which is Mist Hex. Yeah, and that's a group of us that are in the Burning Man community. Like to go out to the festivals and have fun at the festivals. So there's a little group of us there.
That seems like something that would be a fun experience, Burning Man. There's like a museum I went to that was like they had a Burning Man exhibit. I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty cool. Maybe one day I'll be able to make it out. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I went to the unofficial one last year. That was my first experience, and it was pretty amazing. But and then the groups that are into racing, people get rallying around street racing and the Daytona 500 and those kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's got their little subgroup.
It looks like Jim Rat Crypto and Sam are starting a whole fitness Hexican kind of microcosm too, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah. So there's going to be all these little sub communities within the Hexican nation, right? And
which is what we want.
Yeah, so not only are you going to be able to find someone that's into Hex, you'll find someone that's into Hex and one or two of the other things that you find interesting, one of your other passions. And I mean, what more can you ask for from your tribe than to have those kind of exciting things to look forward to and build relationships on?
Exactly. And when you view crypto success as just social consensus, what stronger social consensus could you have when everybody within um, a certain ticker symbol is forming their own subgroups and forming communities of their own interest within the greater community as a whole?
For sure.
It just speaks to the the potential of Hex, in addition to its awesome game mechanics and passive income strategies. But yeah, well, that is all I have. I really appreciate you coming on, HexRay. Is there anything you want to talk about before we log out here?
No, I mean, catch us on Tech Talk is one of the funnest things I do on my channel. We usually do it on Sunday afternoons. I think it's about 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 p.m. Pacific is what we usually shoot for. Come stare at David Feeder's beard because it's magnetic. It's got more
all of its own.
Yeah, he's got more. The beard has more followers than I do. But yeah, check that out if you want to. Definitely, I would go ahead and I would totally encourage you to make as much content as possible. And the people that you talk to on a regular basis that are like, oh, I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel or a vlog or this or that, you just encourage them too, because every voice is going to connect to another person, right? Like we're all going to reach someone that likes our voice or relates to us. And there's a lot of people in this world that I don't relate to and that don't relate to me, but they could definitely use the Richard Hart ecosphere to make their life better financially and probably in other ways in their life, improve their life. So whoever we can reach, it's almost like evangelizing a religion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, and invite everybody, encourage everybody to get their voices out there, because like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are going to listen to your analytic style and really latch on to that. So keep doing what you're doing. You're awesome.
Thank you, HexRay.
And I also want to say that your think tank is awesome. So
thank you.
If you guys can get onto the think tank. There's a lot of there's not a lot of noise in that Telegram. There's some of those Telegram channels, there's just a ton of noise, so it's really hard to get information or have a conversation. But that think tank that you've got has a really good noise to signal ratio.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll drop the invite link. I'm only for a couple more streams. I'm gonna make these links public. I do want to try to keep the membership a little lower so we can keep that noise to signal ratio kind of appropriate. But definitely for everybody who's watching me now, HexRay, you too, I really appreciate your viewership. I appreciate your attention, engagement. And I would love for you to join this kind of backdoor community where we just kind of talk about whatever interests us, pop in questions, kind of pool the collective mind of everybody in there just to try to work through problems and learn together. Also, go follow HexRayVision. Go subscribe to his stuff. His Tech Talk is a great stream, great podcast every Sunday. It's where I first came on. So special place in my heart. But yeah, subscribe, like this stream, subscribe to my channel if you want to keep seeing my stuff. And I'll be on again soon, not too in the distant future. Fortunately, I'm on a break right now, so some of the stuff I've been building up content wise, I'm going to start pushing out a little bit quicker. So yeah, thank you, HexRay, for coming on. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody else in the chat, and I will see everybody later. Take care.